Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols, and I have with me the most amazing woman, Dorie Silverman. Welcome, Dorie.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here, Linda.
Wonderful to have you. You're on like one of my favorite subjects, truth. I actually use truth as a filter in how I move through the world, and and trust is like a really big thing for me. I don't even trust somebody if they don't swear. Because it's like, really? All right. So Dorie, tell us more about what you mean when you think about the word truth.
Yeah. So the truth is like when I think of it in terms of healing work, which is a huge part of my life. It's like getting real, like what's really happening, right?
Yeah.
What's really happening, whether it be thoughts in your mind, whether it be sensations in your body or images that you're having or impulses that you're having. And it's a way to start to kind of break out of the guilt and the shame and the judgment that we feel around what we feel, right? So truth is how we get real with ourselves, and it's a huge part of the healing work.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like use your voice. I always go to speak your truth, which is getting so old and cliche. It's still important though. So when you talk about use your voice,
yes,
a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that happen. One, I mean, we know about the throat chakra and about just the importance of like having even just a vibration move through that area, because we can get really stuck in there. We've been really stifled as women. We've been repressed, not only in terms of like, well, what do I think about something and saying it, but also just how we feel about things, right? Like not being able to feel, and then it's like pushing that away, right? So our voice, what our voice does is that it brings it out into the open as like a real thing that you can then, hear. And it also does a really amazing thing for our nervous system, because our nervous system patterning is a beat. It's a pulse. Right? So when we speak something, we're putting a beat to it or a pulse to it. And our nervous system is like, oh, I can resonate with that. Right? But when everything's stuck in our head or repressed down in our body and there's no beat to it, it's just kind of this mess of stuff.
Yeah.
Then the nervous system is whacked out and we're in fight or flight or overwhelmed. Right?
That's so cool. And I'm an educational kinesiologist, so I think in terms of like vibration and numbers, like measurable, kind of scaling it. And so like if you're muscle testing someone and they use the word try, their arm just goes crashing down. They're super, super weak. If they say, I'm going to like do my best, their arm's really, really strong. And when we lie, our arm goes weak. So I love how you teach about the rhythm. That's like something I haven't thought about or tapped into, and that's a very interesting concept to me.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. I love it all. Doing our best. I love that.
Yeah. And even like I teach heart-to-heart hugs, where you kind of are your like left cheek to left cheek. When you have like, if you raise your left arm and go in for a hug, you'll always get a heart-to-heart hug. And if you don't get a heart-to-heart hug, you're actually getting a liver-to-liver hug, and all our anger is housed in our liver. So that really actually energetically takes us down. So there's a video out on YouTube, heart-to-heart hugs with my husband and I show through kinesiology hugging him, one way versus the other, how weak.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, so I had to say,
watch that video.
Charged up, then here, do a heart-to-heart hug. What, Dorie?
I want to watch that video.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can even put it in the description here, or on YouTube when you get this up. Yeah. Okay, and then tell your story. Oh, my goodness. I know when I work with trauma victims, especially when I do like a book in 30 days project or something, their story is kind of all over the place, and it helps them to get a little more timeline to their story, a little more linear, and really tapping into what really happened and not just like the story of how it felt to them. And we definitely work with both, and we definitely go through like releases, which, you know, you experienced with me going through the clarity session. Like you could only get so far in coming up with the slides before you add something and someone. Sometimes it's something, sometimes it's someone to release. So yeah, I love it. Tell your story, man. It's a good one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's just even knowing your story, right? Even like, you know, I'm just so thinking of like my birth story. Like I'm so happy I asked my mom what my birth story was before she died, you know? I was like, oh my gosh, this is making so much more sense now. I could start to see patterns and make connections. But telling your story, it's just, again, it's just a way of making your life have meaning and have it be more real, right? Because when it's all just kind of jumbled in, especially with all the trauma energy, and actually when you've had a lot of trauma, and you're holding a lot of trauma energy in your body still, things actually start to feel very unreal.
Nice.
You almost feel like you're living, like you're watching life happen. You're separate, and that's a nervous system response. That's the overwhelm response, and so many things change when we're in that place. So anyway, just circling back around, when you tell your story, it's just that, like, again, putting a beat to it, making it more real. And we know that, like, for people who've studied yoga, the sound Om was the first, they consider like the first thing that was created.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So like the sound, right? So sound is like how we create in the world, how we bring things into being.
Yeah.
So there's just such a power in telling your story.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, Dorie.
Thank you, Linda. It's such an honor to be here.
Great to have you. All right, so join Dorie and I over at her Facebook group. Tell the name.
Vibrant Vixen Vortex.
Vibrant Vixen Vortex. Love it. All right, my dear.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.